welcome to tonight's program. We have the amazing Harvey Stein. He's going to be presenting his why he loves long-term projects. And we here at Suspect Photography truly believe in photography projects. And long-term ones are extra special because they can just extend throughout your life and become more and more important and more cool. Enough with that. I want to turn this over to the amazing Harvey Stein. Harvey, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you, David. And thanks for your friendship over these years and your advocacy of me. I think you're a great guy and you're a great host.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who's here. We're going to do this for about 45 minutes or so. You know, sometimes I talk too much, so I want to go through some work and show you some of my long-term projects. But first, I want to talk about the long-term project and why I do love it. And I put a little extended title to it to some people and what it can lead to. And I can dispense with that really quickly. It can lead to books. It can. I love books. I have always loved books. I want to do as many books as I can. To me, that's the pinnacle. It's better than a show. It's better than a magazine spread, whatever. Books last. And that's what I'm leaving behind. No kids. I'm leaving books instead of kids. So why do we love long-term projects? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's because it focuses us. It gives us direction. It makes me certainly braver. You know, I'll run down the street to see to photograph a twin, for instance, when I was working on the twin project. So it gives me direction and it gives me a sense of a goal, sort of. I don't know if it's a spoken goal or a goal that I really am conscious about right away, but it gives me like a goal to complete it. And by the way, I do some projects where I abandon them. I abandon it because I don't think it's going anywhere. So I believe that my photographs speak to me, and I get my ideas from the photographs. They lead me. So I'm always shooting. I'm always looking for subject matter. I don't sit at home scribbling on a pad my ideas. Most of my ideas come in the field while I'm working. My best idea ever in photography, I think, is my first book, and that's a book of identical twins from birth to death. I'm not photographing dead people, but it's from 3 months old to a set of twins in bed together. That's how they live at the age of about 71 years old. And so and I might show some of those today. The story there for me is I was out shooting one weekend in May of 1972. This is when I started it, my first year in photography. And I met 3 sets of identical twins on the street. I photographed them. I liked two of the sessions being 5 pictures maybe each. And it gave me the idea, why not do more twins, but only identical? And 6 years later, it led to a book. So I shot from 1972 to 1977, 6 years, and the book came out in 1978. By the way, I was working full time in the business world. I was working on Madison Avenue in an ad agency, and I wasn't a full-time photographer then. I was aspiring. I started teaching photography in 1976 while I was working full-time, and I never told ICP that I was working. I didn't think they would hire me if they thought that's all I would. They thought I wasn't shooting full time. So the self-assignment and the self-assigned project, how long is a long-term project? How many photographs? How long? It could be 2 years, it could be 6 years, it could be 50 years. How many photographs? Probably, uh, 30, 20. Um, I have my first teacher, Ben Fernandez, and he was an amazing street photographer, big burly tough guy from East Harlem. He was doing a project called, and he always talked about this, mental poverty. He had 5 pictures in about 15 years. And I always chuckled because I thought, this is crazy. He really doesn't have a project. He's just in his mind, in his head, maybe. And I never saw any more of those. So I would say 20 to 40 to 100. So I've done, I've done 10 books, and 9 of those 10 books took at least 6 years. The shortest duration is 6 years, the twins book. The longest time period was actually 51 years, and it's called Coney Island People, 50 Years. It was 1970 to 2020. That's really 51 years. And then I added a photograph that I shot in 2021 because I just loved the photograph. Shot it at Coney Island, and I just thought, wow, this has got to be in the book. And they let me sneak it in as they were producing the book, they being my publisher, Schiffer Publishing. Let's see. I think long-term projects continue my education. It makes me smarter and better. And the goal is perhaps to become the expert in the field, at least graphically or photographically, while you're doing those projects. I photographed New York and California artists, very famous artists, from Warhol, Rauschenberg, from 1980 to 86. So that was 6 or 7 years, 85 actually. And that book came out in 1986. So I researched art, I researched the artists. I knew a lot about the art world. I researched the art world. You become and should become very knowledgeable as you're working. And we're more knowledgeable than the publisher if it comes to that. But they know more about publishing, but I know, or we know more about the subject. So we can work as co-conspirators, so to speak. We can work on an equal level, okay? And the element of time, I guess I'm fascinated by time, and I'm realizing now that all my projects deal with time, whether it's in the title, Coney Island 40 Years, a book, Coney Island 50 Years, then and there, the Mardi Gras 1979, that was published in 2020. So looking back, 40 years in time to dig out images out of my desk drawer. They were Polaroids. And 40 years later, after shooting these Polaroids and lying dormant in my office, I got it published, and that I didn't even think about doing that, but the publisher came to me. So time to research the subject, time to shoot, time to change, time to learn, time to evolve and understand and go deeper into the subject. I say if we're photographing something in depth, we want to surround it. We shoot the front, the side, the back, above, below, and that could be one person, or that could be Coney Island, or that could be New York City. Gene Smith, we know him. the greatest photojournalist probably in the 20th century. He photographed Pittsburgh. He had an assignment to photograph, to go there for 3 weeks and photograph. He liked it so much he went back for a couple of years and documented it. And finally, a book came out well after he died, and he photographed it for, I don't know, there was an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur, there was a photo editor that worked for, I guess, Life, and he photographed it for Life, and then ultimately for himself. And he said, I could only get at a hint of the city. And that's true. I've been photographing New York City for since 1970, so 54, 55 years. I was 10 years old when I started. And, I'll never cover 2% of it. I mean, it's crazy. It's like impossible. But we do what we can do, right? We do what we can do, and we see what happens. We need patience. Time and patience go together. I don't feel rushed even now at a way old age. I don't feel rushed. I've been working, and I'm going to show you my project a little bit on India. I've been working on India for 12 years now. I just was there in October, and I'm going to show you some work from that. So time, and I would advise some things, some hints, maybe while we're doing it. Start sequencing right away. Start editing your work, looking at your work as soon as possible, and start sequencing. If you have 2 images, that's a sequence. One goes first, one goes second. You have 4 images. You have suddenly, after 6 months, you have 12 images. You have 20 images. Don't wait till the end. I've waited till the end, and it makes it really hard. Just start with your first images, your best of your first images, and lay it out. I make prints. I still do darkroom work. I still make, I want to handle the prints, so I make 8x10 prints. And with digital, my India project is digitally, so I've just made 4x6 prints. I have 300 prints, 4x6, that I just got printed at CVS. It's really easy to do. It costs nothing to do it. So they're awful prints, but I have a copy of those prints to lay on a table and move them around to sequence. I've tried to sequence on the computer, and it's just not working for me. So I'm a print kind of guy. I like handling the merchandise. I like feeling it. These prints from CVS are pretty terrible, but at least I can see them. I'm knowledgeable about each image, and then I can sequence. So that's
Hey,
really.
Harvey, I just want to jump in and say you're the first speaker we have that has a Gray Lab 300 timer in a dark room behind yourself.
Oh,
So,
you can see it?
yeah,
That's it.
that's
Behind
amazing.
behind me is my film developing room. I've had a dark room for 35 years that just got closed. I shared it with another person, and she kind of bailed out, and she held the lease to the apartment. So now I'm printing elsewhere, and I'm looking for a dark room, actually. So if you know of a dark room, but I'm still printing, and I love printing. And I just developed film today, and there's film hanging behind me as an aside. So I'm still really involved with film, and I love film, and so I think anyone can take a terrific photo or two. Give I've heard stories about give a camera to a monkey or a penguin, and they can make a photograph, in the wild. They'll press a button here or there, they'll sniff it out, or they'll put nose on the shutter release button, and there'll be a photograph. And the researchers then come and pick up the camera. Anyone can put 2 or 3 pictures together. The mark of a an advanced photographer, I feel, is working long term and putting in, and what you want are images on a theme that's coherent, that's connected, that looks like stylistically connected, and it looks like it's coming from one person. And I mean, it's a no-brainer for me to do that. But I know many photographers, they love shooting and they shoot. And I say, what are you working on? And they say, not much. They were students of mine. They're not putting their work together. And I grind my teeth a little, okay. But and I might even say to them or under my breath, you should try to do it. It's exciting. It really is motivating. It's really motivating. So, um, and finding projects, everyone has that issue. You can be a first year photographer, you can be a 50-year photographer. What do I photograph? What do I photograph next? It's always an issue. There's no question. We're always looking. I do I work on 3 or 4 projects at a time because if I get bored, I'll put that aside for maybe 2 or 3 months and work on something else. And working on something else gives me ideas and gets me, even thinking about the previous project that I laid aside for a while. It's hard to work on one thing only. I think we need more. And my way of not getting bored, you could get bored, you could get stymied. I'm doing a project on India. Well, I'm not in India. I go every year, maybe twice a year for 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I've been there for 32 days at a stretch. Really, I should live there, but I can't live there. I have everything here. I have family. I have David, my friend. I can't leave David for a year. So, so,
Buddy.
so I go, so I go back and forth, so I can't work on that all the time. I'm in New York. I shoot. Winogrand said he shoots where he is, and you shoot where you are, and you make good photographs. And if you can't, you just keep trying to do that. I was on Long Island. I've been on Long Island in the month of July for the month, and it's pretty boring out there, way out by on the North Fork. It's beautiful, too beautiful for me, and it's not nitty gritty. And I'm finding I'm making some good pictures there. I mean, I can either sit at home and drink beer and watch a boring baseball game, or go out and walk around and shoot and find things. I'm a street photographer. I'm known as a street photographer and as a portrait photographer, I would say. So I've done a lot of portrait work indoors. Probably not known. That's probably not known. Okay. Um, so find rich, accessible subject matter if you can. And I think by rich, I mean visual. One reason I started photographing identical twins, because to me it was very visual, not visual. It was very visual. There's 2 of them. I can play with them. I can put them together. I can separate them. I can make one more dominant than the other. I didn't. I try to take them very seriously and very um, um, structurally, very formally, but with their environment. So that came along as I was shooting. So find what are you interested? It could be your family, it could be your neighborhood, it could be you knew someone that smokes still all the time and you're interested in smokers, or people with pipes. Van Gogh was a pipe smoker. Look for pipes in the street. I photograph people with cigars. I don't see many people with pipes. You could be on the Staten Island ferry and go back and forth for a couple of weeks and check that out and see if that interests you in photographing. You can go to the beach. You can go to Coney Island. You can go to Brighton Beach, better now than Coney Island, because that's been done. And if it's been done, I wouldn't worry about it. I just wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so I'm gonna just make sure. Okay, wow. I want to show you three projects. One you've never seen before, one I've never shown before, one of my book, my Mexico book. David mentioned Mexico, and then one of India, and maybe for the next 20 minutes or so, and 25 minutes, and then we'll be finished. I know you have questions. I really want to answer your questions. I really prefer you asking me them directly so I can talk to you. So I'm going to bring this. You can see this, right? Yes, I'm sharing,
No,
David?
no.
Yes? Yes,
Not yet,
David?
Harvey, not yet, no.
Oh, oh, all right. I thought I was sharing.
It's like
Okay.
a two-step share you gotta,
Oh, oh, you had me stop sharing. Yeah. Okay.
there
Okay.
you go.
There we go. Good. All right. So let me get rid of. Let me do this. Okay. So I'm going to do it full screen, and you'll be able to see it better. So this was done with a Holga camera. This series, there's about 10 or 11. I have maybe 20. I started in the early 80s, maybe mid 80s, and for 10 years, I would take my Holga around with me as much as my Leica. Um, I loved the Holga. It's a toy camera for those people that don't know it. It's a plastic toy camera. It was made in China. I think it's still made. And David Lyman, the man that started the main photo workshops, saw them somewhere and imported, I think the story goes, 10,000 of them and gave them to students. He started the workshops in main photo workshop. And he taught there and he pontificated, if you know David. And I think he discovered it. And then us teachers, got one or two, and it became like a little fad. And lots of people used them. Nancy, gosh, from Ohio did it. Oh, she used the Diana. Nancy, what's Nancy's last name? Oh, I'm blanking. So anyway, uh, um, it's flawed. Like it leaks light, so there's a lot of light leaking. It vignettes. It's a 2.25 camera, by the way. So you have a medium format camera for $8, $6, $3 maybe then. Film, and I processed the 2.25 film. So this is about flight and travel because I was traveling a lot. And I didn't really look for them. I didn't go to airports to look really, but it was fun, and it was a relief from the intensity of the streets and photographing on the streets. I have this thing that says this meeting is being recorded. Can I get rid of that, David? Or can I move that? No, it's. Oh, I'm going to say it. Okay, great. I got rid of it. So this is the butt end of a plane, and this was the Las Vegas airport, probably 1985, 90. And I was amazed that I could walk right behind an airplane like that. I bet you can't do that now and shoot. Okay.
Hey, Harvey, I shared a link to the Holga camera if anyone wants to
Oh,
buy
great.
a buy a Holga.
So
But
this is walking into the plane from the airport into the plane, and I took a quick shot. I just see now, I've never noticed that there's a man right here. Wow, a worker. I like these photographs. I mean, they're very different. They're structural, they're architectural, they're compositionally interesting, I think. And here, like this is a bird or this is a speck. I love the speck in the sky. You can see the vignetting. By the way, there's no focusing. So, what you could do is you put it on sun or shade, and that's kind of you're changing your lens. It's a 40 millimeter lens. I guess you can still buy them. They're probably $20 or $30 now. I'm not sure where.
hey,
Oh,
hey,
this is
Harvey, in the chat, I dropped a link. B&H has Holgas in stock. They're $39, and
okay.
it doesn't include the gaffer's tape to stop the light leaks. They are
Okay,
available. So
stop, stop interrupting me, please. Okay. This is from the street. I don't know what street, and that's probably a building and a really low flying plane. I did go out to the streets around JFK. I had a friend that lived out there and maybe hang out and look for planes in the air. This was landing. This could have been Las Vegas. And then, of course, I'm on the plane. This is I taught at RIT in Rochester, and sometimes would take an old plane there. And I guess that's what this is with the wings above, propeller plane. And this is one of the Finger Lakes. And look, it is the Finger. There's 5 Finger Lakes in upper New York State, and it's probably 100 miles or 200 miles from Rochester, which was my destination at RIT. I like this because of the ephemerality of it. You know, it's overexposed. You can't control the exposure. It's probably really bright, but I like how washed out and angelic almost it looks. I think this is another um, um, Finger Lake from one of my trips from Rochester to New York. While I taught there, I still lived in New York City. And then I always am on a plane sitting at the window because I want to shoot, shoot, shoot. I shoot clouds, I shoot sky, I shoot the wings and the engines, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this is a plane. I love this picture. I love the verticalness of it and the sense of movement. I don't know, I can't really say what's going on here. I think I was in another plane and we came that close. Could that be possible? I don't think so. Okay. All right. So that's a short one. I came out with this book, Mexico Between Life and Death. I worked on it from 1993 to 2010, and the book came out in 2018. It took me 8 years to digest all that I shot. I was there 14 times, I'm sorry, in 18 years. 14 times in 18 years. I would go twice some years, 1 or 2 years I missed, and I just loved it. And I did workshops there. I went on my own at first. I had a friend there. I visited him, and I knew a woman there who lived in San Miguel, and she had a gallery, and she showed my work. So I had a couple contacts, and then I started in 1996 starting my own workshops and taking people there uh, without help. I mean, I had a TA, but I didn't use any agencies, and I don't know the language, and I just love it there. And I had a theme in my mind before going, and it was death. How did people treat people uh, or the elderly, the old age? I was younger, 20 years, 30 years ago. We all were. And I was I was intrigued by how they treat people, the elderly people, the grandmas. They don't put them in homes for the aged, the grandmas, the daddies. They live with the family. And then how they treat the notion of death. So I'll show you some of those images. I have no one who's dead, but I'm looking for symbols of death and dying, along with uh, life affirming activities. So it's Mexico between life and death. This is a man. This is for me, every man. He's he was in shade, and I chose not to expose for his face, which would have blown out the background. I chose to have his face totally dark, and to me, he's just anonymous and just every man. She crossed my path with the great shape of the umbrella. They're very curious. She was very curious. I took one photograph. These are all 21 millimeter images. I stopped him. Here I am. Here's my shadow. 21. I'm getting close to everyone I shoot. I get close. I just motioned to him. We didn't speak. I saw his burden. I saw what he's carrying. I felt that on his back, he's carrying his troubles. And we're in a beautiful flower market. This is in a small town called Putzcaroro during Day of the Dead. And the flowers are there for the graves for Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead, they go to the cemeteries and put flowers and welcome their ancestors. I love the scale here, the large and the small, and what they were wearing, and the in and out of focus, and her very strong look at me. I love the peeling wall. So I try to size up the situation quickly. I try to watch my backgrounds, really, that's important. I try not to, I mean, I usually don't do full form from head to toe. I try not to crop toes or fingers. But here, I placed the two women more centrally, but not in the middle. I wanted them on the edge. And I photographed the emptiness of the scene of the park. This is Mexico City, and the women being more important than the men. Having breakfast, my camera's on this ledge. This is a I don't know, some kind of artifact. Is not real, and it's sitting there. And I heard her singing. I heard a voice. I grabbed my camera very intuitively, and she walked by. I had one shot, and she's a little blurred, but that's okay. And it was really quick. My camera's always preset. The 21, I pre-focus. So here, a skeleton. I'm always looking for skeletons. I'm looking for various, you'll see some more, and various other items that suggest the other world, let's say. And they feel they go to another world. Here I am. Here I am. My reflection in the glass is allowing the camera to see her, right? If I were over here, hardly seen. So that was fortuitous. So I have a lot of mini themes. I have bars, bars, bars. I have sombreros. So I'm consciously looking for these things, items to complete or push along my theme of isolation, of a hard life. I felt that people were very dignified, but the life was difficult. Here's a whole family looking at me. This is during Easter and Easter Sunday, Easter services. So I would go where the people are congregating, where there's events for the holiday and Day of the Dead, definitely. Whoops. Okay. So this man, I didn't talk to him. I didn't pose him. I saw this tip immediately, and it was touching the pole. And he stayed there long enough for me to get that. I probably just did one or two frames. I thought he maybe knew I was there. He knew I was photographing him, and he allowed it without speaking. Again, look at this sombrero. And so I don't know. They were passing me by. I'm in a really small town, and I don't know if he's hiding or he's tipping his sombrero to me. And I love silhouette against black, of course, silhouette against a white wall. It's very graphic to me, and it should be profile. You want a silhouette that's profile of the face, not the full face. You want lines and edge. This is Fox and a mask of Fox. Fox was the president at the time, and they're caricaturing him. And this is for one of the events for Day of the Dead in a town called Mitla. It's about 20 miles from not San Miguel, not Guanajuato. I don't know. I forget. So anyway, I like the circles. That intrigued me, and the tuba. and the round face sort of. And again, and I use flash, I use slow shutter, I use flash occasionally and get some blur and movement. So light, I haven't mentioned light. Lighting is so important. Sharp light, beautiful light. Oaxaca, that's the city I was trying to think. I saw this as like an animal or a goat, like some kind of a goat, and framed this guy with this guy. I have another image of him, full face, totally wrinkled. I think it's in this. Kids, kids doing Halloween. Kids doing Halloween. And they didn't want money. I'm sorry, they didn't want candy. They wanted money. Um, he is, so I have a little riff on arms extended. This one, this one. This is Guadalupe, the Shrine of Guadalupe in the church. It's the patron saint of Mexico. So he was there and he bought this shirt, I guess, and he was putting it on. And I photographed him like that with his arms out. And there's the Jesus. There's tortured Jesuses all over every church in Mexico. And I find them very compelling to photograph. And so that played into my little mini series, and death and dying. And then this is a mummy at a museum, Museo de Mumia in Guanajuato, in Guanajuato. Yeah, yes, in Guanajuato. They found, they dug up some graves and they found that the mummies were, the bones were not loose and like it normally. They were mummified. So they dug up the mummies, they put them on the side of a building. People came around a couple of years and they decided to house the dummies and make a museum, and that's what they did. And for $2, you could be there all day photographing. These are people looking. He's encased in glass, glass case, and there's people across from him. So again, death and dying. This is perfect for me. I'm looking for this kid in a skeleton and acting out. I'm not sure why he's doing this. Maybe he didn't like me, or he's just feeling strong, or maybe I agitated him. I don't think so. And I use flash slow shutter to get a little blur in the background. Is blur because of the camera movement. I love this picture. I think she's beautiful. And I saw her eyes and, you know, I just, wow. And I don't know if she was blind or not, but maybe. But I didn't notice the kid, the child. And I think he makes it. He's really important. I love him there. Terrific. I mean, it was like serendipitous, right? Notice she has, these are her vases, her vases. They're discarded oil cans, right? And there's her flowers. Very, very native people. And they would bring pictures and put on the grave sites. They bring marigolds, flowers, and lay it on the grave as a pathway to earth. They would have their favorite foods. Maybe they had some music. I don't remember that. And they had to be good because the ancestors would come down and castigate them. And they would sit. They sit there all night, at day and night, mostly at night with candles. So I saw some violence. I saw some fighting. I represented that. This is a tourist thing, not a tourist thing. Tourists come to it. They're exploding dummies, effigies, and we're in a park above the street to see this. And I went there, and then this kid with a gun. I don't know. I don't remember this shot. I don't remember doing this photograph. Maybe I blanked out. I know he didn't kill him or shoot the gun, but it looks like something bad could happen. And here are the cops standing around. I like this photograph because of his eye, his eye. There's always something in a photograph that you really want to love, to make you want to keep it, make you want to live with it, make you want to go into the dark room with it. And even digitally, I would say. If his eye were obscured, I may not have done that. So they were making out, and he saw me, and he had one glance, and I did, I don't know, 2 or 3 frames. This image sums up or summarizes or epitomizes my theme: birth, life, she's pregnant, the new infant, and then death with all the skeletons. Okay, I would say any questions? Okay, this is India. I'm going to try to go pretty quickly. Wow. India, I was there for 8 days from October 7th to the 5th, 14th. I was shooting more or less on an assignment for a book. I'm working on a book with 2 other people, my travel partner, Margarita Mavro Mikolas, who I want to give a plug to. She's the most amazing photographer in the world. I think she's the best photographer I know. She is incredible, much better than me, that's for sure. But we get along well. We travel together doing workshops. I'm doing a workshop to Mexico in February. It's full, 10 people, and we're going to pretty remote tribal areas that did I say Mexico? I mean India. And we're going to tribal remote areas. So we're really looking forward to it. So this is in a neighborhood called Chandri Chowk. It's a major neighborhood. It's like the Times Square of India, but it's so crowded and so chaotic and so noisy and so colorful and so it's so great to be there. I think he's very handsome, very beautiful in some ways. And look at where he is, and look at his head's almost on this dirty foot, and there's another foot. It's just like you see things there that you'll never see anywhere else. And they love to be photographed. It's a street photographer's nirvana. They love to be photographed. Here's I don't know what he's doing, a key maker guy, or he's selling old keys, or he's refurbishing old keys. And he's right in the middle of the sidewalk. No shop. He's just there, and he's probably been there for 20 years. And he looks like a cool guy. And then there's another something. I don't even know what's back there. I photographed him. There's shop after shop, market after market after market, and I photographed him because he was alone and separate. This is a portrait I did of a man that I met with light coming through. None of these have been retouched, by the way. I would lighten this and lighten this a little bit. So I'm doing portraits on the street, off the street. I usually try to engage people on the street. Sometimes I'm told that I get too close, so I'm trying to get back a little bit too, and I'm doing both. This was a procession. It's called Dashura. It's a 10-day, the major holiday in Delhi. Oh, by the way, Chandri Chowk is in Old Delhi. It's a Muslim neighborhood, but I think for this festival, mostly it's a Hindu festival. So I'm learning about Hinduism, a little bit about Muslim culture. I'd say India is about 15 to 20% Muslim. It's an amazing country. You got to go there. You got to go there. There's a quick street photograph, and I love the one eye. I have a thing for one eyes. Love the shadow, like the tilt. And this is an example of the street. This is a street. This is a major street. And it's full of rickshaws and bikes and people on foot and people carrying on their heads and on their backs merchandise from one shop or manufacturer, a shop that manufactures, to the stores. I mean, it's incredible. It's shocking. This is at a fairgrounds during the festival, and these children arrange themselves, and I just love the way they're together and they're looking at the camera. I like people looking at my camera on the street. I think I'm a little different as a street photographer that way. These are keepers, most of them. This is just a small portion of what I shot. This is at the fairground, and again with a flash. I'd never been to a fairground before with Indians. It was really crowded. It's hard to isolate people, and I'm good at isolating people. This is a vendor, and look how I didn't have to say anything to him. He just wants to be photographed. He's proud to be photographed. He's serious. I don't have to tell him not to smile. And then I'm getting in the environment. I want to tone this down a little bit, but I like his face. I like his stance. I like his dignity and his pose. This is at a outdoor 10-day performance. The performance takes 10 days. It's for Dashura. We were right at the edge of the stage, so we could see this. And I have a couple more. And this is people. This is how they come to it. It's warm. It's October. It's 90, 95 degrees. So people don't wear a lot of clothes sometimes. I like, and I guess I used a flash. Yeah, you can see the flash. And this is the Ferris wheel in the background. This is a theater. There's probably 40 rows, and then it goes into the fairgrounds. And this is another group and a closer photograph. And I don't know if he's a performer. I don't think he wasn't on the stage when I saw him. We went twice, two different days to the ongoing performance. I guess they stopped during the day. They stopped, but during the night, it went till 1 o'clock the last night. And it recreates the myth of why the holiday is. And the myth, it's about good and evil, and it's about a good guy and a bad guy 200, 300, 400 years ago. It's a Hindu myth. This is one of the main streets, and this is an example of what they carry on their backs and their heads. I'm low. I like the faces here, and I like the framing of these two major players with these side players, and then seeing through them or past them into the store. This guy was sleeping. I mean, he looks pretty, he has a shop, or I don't know. And I walked by him, and I had my camera at my waist, and I just did a shot from my waist, hence the tilt. And I really liked it. It's sharp, it's tilted. We're so careful about framing that we rarely tilt, or we're always framing, vertically, horizontally, perfectly, get the right composition. And I like that this violates that. And it's not so tilted that it's dizzying, I don't think. This is an example of the sharp sunlight coming through buildings, and he's moving, and he's a rickshaw. This is his rickshaw. There's thousands and thousands and thousands, I'd say hundreds of thousands of rickshaws on the street, or at least in Delhi. They're everywhere, and they clog, and the traffic is incredible. I saw this my first trip in 2013 in a town called Jazimir, where young girls do tight roping, and their father isn't there, but their mother is there, asking for money. So these girls are trained, and I don't know, they should be in school. School is on. We've gone to schools, and she's doing this. And the lighting was tough, and I chose to backlighter, front lighter, and I did this silhouette. I think I would lighten this a little bit so you can see. I have 3 or 4 good images, but I like this because I've never done a tightrope walker on a silhouette. So where these are going to fit and how I'm going to arrange them, that all remains to be seen. These actually are eunuchs. I mean, I never saw a eunuch, or I don't know what the heck's a eunuch. We visited a household of eunuchs, and there were 6 of them, and Marguerite and I, and the third person, Umesh, We took turns photographing, and this is my I've done this is my best picture. I think I really like this picture. We couldn't speak with them. They didn't. Well, yeah, she's the leader. She was like the den mother, and I guess she talked to us, and we told her why we were there and what we were doing, and we had permission. I mean, of course, we had permission. We're in their house, so that was pretty special. This is another scene there. She was captivating. I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know, really, their relationship. I guess they're all very close. I did a couple of them, one with her hand down and one with her hand touching her. I think this is a little better. I think it's a very emotional and moving photograph. Uh, and the way they make up their faces, just think that it's wonderful. This is a woman who I photographed at her home. This is part of, I don't think it's part of her home. It's right outside her home. And I guess this could be a clothesline, but it looks pretty, or maybe it's for animals. I don't know. It looks like a barbed wire. I photographed in her home, but I liked it. I told her to look up. The light is coming through, and it gave really bad shadows. So, but looking up and just the light on her face, I thought was really beautiful. And what she's wearing, they wear even to clean the streets, just beautiful, beautiful clothes. It's pretty amazing. So there's monkeys a lot of places. Uh, I shot this with my 35 millimeter. I'm using a Canon 5D Mark II, very old camera, and I had a 16 to 35 zoom, and this is as close as I could get. And the fact that what makes it for me is that it's looking at me, and then the environment. There's wires everywhere. Where are these wires going? What are they doing? Why are they there? My God. Here's another little monkey at the fair, and I love what she was wearing. I asked the father, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." They're very proud. They want their kids photographed. And this is another one at the fest at the performance. I wouldn't call it a play. It was, I mean, it was all lip synced, and so the actors were lip syncing on stage, and the dialogue was read by someone at the off stage in front of the stage, in the middle of the front of the stage, but off the stage, reading with a microphone, and it was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I like her face. I really liked her. She just was smiling a little. I don't love smiles. This little smile, and then getting the whole evening uh, retinue there, all the people there, but well out of focus, and she's just the dominant person. And then in these beautiful lines of light that I really enjoy. Okay, and then this is, I think, yeah, this is the final photo. Oh, yeah, and this is the final photograph. I like this because it looks like this is her dress, but it's not. And for a second, you think, well, what's going on? The dress is here, but she's over there. But she's standing behind the dress. And she saw me, and, I pointed the camera and a little smile. This is the cover and back cover of the Mexico book. Okay. I can be reached by email, hstein, photo, F-O-T-O, at AOL.com, my Instagram at stein.harvey, Facebook. I care about Instagram. I don't care about Facebook. My website. And these are my 10 books from 1978 to 2022. I won't bore you more than that. If you want a book, I have books from, I did a book on Harlem that sold out. I have the Coney Island 50-year book. This is sold out. This is Mardi Gras. I have the Mexico book. I think Mexico is my best work, to be honest with you. I shouldn't say that. I love all my work. And but I have books, and I can, if you want to email me, feel free, and I can mail you a book. If you're in New York, we can meet up. If you, but I, you know, that may not be possible. But there's my email. Okay, so I think I'm finished. Whoa.